Young girls in the beautiful valley of Kashmir sing and dance to the soft and lyrical music. Please enjoy the Kashmiri dance.
Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I am Farrukh Pitafi. Viewers, today we are going to talk about Pakistan's domestic politics because it seems that every 5 minutes the context changes and everything becomes more and more interesting. Remember that day when I was talking about Jahangir Tareen group as if it was going to be a forward bloc? After that, we have seen some incredible scenes where there were interactions with the Chief Minister of Punjab, then there were interactions with Fawad Chaudhry, the Federal Information Minister, and while these interactions were going on, let me read a couple of tweets that Chaudhry Fawad Hussain actually sent out. Number one, no new group is forming. Small differences do occur sometimes. The one. The second one is the PTI family is one family and that it will move forward as one party. Chaudhry Fawad. So there seems to be something very interesting. The word has it that whatever differences were there has been some kind of understanding between both sides. For example, there is this claim that DPO Lodra was moved out of his position or changed because of a compromise between the two sides. But that is not all. When it comes to the report that is anticipated, the Prime Minister of Pakistan was briefed on these matters and he said, while the palatable demands will be accepted, he also said that there is not going to be any compromise with any kind of pressure group. That is quite interesting. We are going to talk about that as well. Then Shehbaz Sharif also came. Remember when he came out of prison, and then we knew that he is going to interact with the various political sides. There was news that he is going to actually persuade PDM leadership, People's Party particularly, to come back and work together. That seems to be something that still is being speculated by the punters. We are going to talk about that as well. And finally, I remind you that there was the reports about Chaudhry Nisar, the former Home Minister or Interior Minister, joining the Punjab Assembly after a hiatus of 2.5 years, where his seat actually kept on waiting for him while he did not take oath of office. And I had raised the question of one country, two systems, where perhaps it seems that for some people there is some leeway. So he went to the Punjab Assembly apparently, and there, because the Speaker and Deputy Speaker were not there, so he could not take oath of office. But he says that he is going to go back there again, and if nothing happens and he is not supported, he is going to move courts. We are going to talk about all these matters and more. In order to help us understand these issues, in the studio I am joined by Mohammad Ibrahim Khan Sahab, MNA of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the ruling party at Centre and Punjab, and also quite regular on this show. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Dr. Afnanullah Khan, Senator of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, joins us in the studio as well. If you remember Mushahidullah Khan Sahab, one of once upon a time our regular guest, he's his son, and also very articulate senator from the party. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. From Karachi, we are joined by Ali Rashid, leader of Pakistan People's Party. He used to be an MNA, but was in another party. Now he is with People's Party. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on Skype. Let me start with Ibrahim Khan Sahab. So your take on Jahangir Tareen situation. What magic wand have you used?
Actually, whatever name people can give it, but it was a simple magic wand, and that was
simple magic wand is something.
Okay.
Yeah.
No compromise on principles.
Yeah.
If somebody has any suspicions or any observations about the FIRs,
yeah,
Prime Minister was very clear about it from the day one. He says, we will ensure that no injustice is done, and nobody is politically victimized or by any other political ulterior motives.
All right.
Okay, and so I think once the justice takes its course,
all right,
and it's ensured that everything is handled according to the law.
All right.
I don't foresee any reason that why there would be any confrontation among the two friends.
Okay, here's one more thing that I have to ask you. You are saying that Prime Minister was made aware of the concerns of the party, this group, and that's why he said that the law has to take course, and then naturally there won't be any injustice. But is it not part of the part and parcel of the system? And should Jahangir Tareen have to actually go to the extent of DEFCON 5 to actually raise awareness about these matters?
You're right. There are lots and lots of lacunas in the law, in the system.
Yeah.
I can quote a couple of examples where people have been apprehended, and 3 or 4 months later they were released. Like I'll quote you an example of Aleem Khan,
yeah,
from our own party, our minister.
But he never formed a forward group.
That's a separate thing. But your question was that there are some certain loopholes within the system.
Yeah.
That how come those people who have been arrested, and if they come out clean later on, the amount of damage that is done to them, and it's not just one person, it's the whole family.
All right.
Okay, that should be taken into consideration.
Right. Ibrahim Khan Sahab, hold that thought. Let me bring in Dr. Afnanullah Khan. Dr. Sahab, you can comment on Jahangir Tareen as well. There was a time when your party was saying that Jahangir Tareen is corrupt and your PTI is not taking action against its own. When PTI starts taking action, all of a sudden leaders from your party start appearing, and they say that Jahangir Tareen is being wronged and we are in contact. And then we learn about the reports that when he was in UK, your party actually reached out to him and invited him to join your fold. Why is it that there seems to be a double standard here?
Thank you very much. There has never been an effort to reach out to Jahangir Khan Tareen Sahab by PMLN. Okay. There was an effort by JKT to reach out towards PMLN, and our answer was that you need to first basically clarify your position, past positions on, pertaining to PMLN performance and all the allegations that you made in the past. So that was back in when he was in the UK. Right now, I mean, it doesn't matter what our stance is or the stance of PTI is. The most important thing is that the FIA concludes that not only Jahangir Khan Tareen is part of the Satta group for the sugar mafia, but also Khusro Bakhtiar is an integral part of that group.
Okay.
And between the two of them and another person, they control the Satta group, and they are responsible for the whole hiking of the price of sugar.
No, but what we cannot do in this program is run a parallel court. Of course, all these things will have to go to a court, right?
Yeah.
But regarding this idea, because there's a reason why I'm asking you. Your leaders, your party members, second-tier leadership appeared on television and repeatedly kept on saying that he is being wronged. And I can give you names and upon names, including your information secretary.
Well, I mean, as far as the law is, we have to follow the law.
Yeah.
So as I was saying before, that it doesn't really matter whether what we are saying, whether it's right or wrong, as long as the investigating officer concludes that someone has done something wrong, or the court of law decides that someone has done something wrong. Other than that, it doesn't really actually matter.
Okay.
Our
innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, you are innocent until proven guilty. That's one thing. Second thing,
and you are free to join PMLN as well.
You can only join PMLN. You can only join. I mean, that has happened in the past as well. That the JKT has tried to join forces with PMLN, but our stance has remained very clear, and from day one, and that is that he needs to first clarify his position.
Right.
In the past, the allegations that he made in the past pertaining to PMLN leadership and PMLN. So if there is a I mean, politics is the art of possibility.
Right.
So we will never say that all doors are closed to anyone. So
there will
highly unlikely that anything will happen.
Yeah, all doors are not closed, but there is always one, especially a back door, which is always open and somebody can sneak in. Let me bring in Ali Rashid Saab. Ali Rashid Saab, your party seems to be doing its own thing. But there are reports that Shehbaz Sharif Saab actually wants to woo your party. And because his approach to politics is more or less what your party's approach is, that is actually doing your own thing and not bringing down the entire system. Is there a possibility of working with Shehbaz Sharif?
Thank you so much for having me here today. Yes, definitely. It's a very welcome move, and we would want to work with Mr. Sharif. And I think I think his method or his way of thinking is very similar to us, and I don't think going out on the roads and resigning from positions is the way forward. And I think if you want to fix the system and if you want to overthrow this government, it needs to be done within, and we need to work. Yeah, so I think it's very good.
Right. I just wanted to hear your voice. That's why I started with Shehbaz Sharif. But I have to ask you about Jahangir Tareen as well. You can see in the split screen his face is also visible. Let me ask you that former Deputy Speaker of Sindh Assembly had tweeted earlier, a few months ago, that Jahangir Tareen is going to meet with the party co-chairman, that is Asif Ali Zardari, and he might join the party. Later on the tweet was deleted, but is it not true that your party was also exploring that avenue?
That's, I was just thinking about this very same point, and I'm not surprised that you brought it up, but we are not aware. I think that tweet was something which the party knows nothing about. We don't own that tweet, and we don't. I think it might be some kind of misunderstanding from her end, because later on, as you said yourself, she deleted that tweet. So no such thing is planned from our side, and no such meeting was planned.
Okay. So if JKT ever wants to join your party, you are categorically saying no.
No, well, I am nobody to say no. Obviously, if
I mean, why?
he reaches out,
Why are you nobody to say no? Are you
no,
not
well,
part of the party?
of course I'm part of the party, but you should never say never, right? Pun intended.
Okay.
But if he comes forward, and right now a lot of issues and cases against him are pending the court of law, and if everything's cleared, and you know how they say innocent
No, hang
until
on.
proven
A
guilty,
lot of cases are
and
pending against your leadership as well.
yeah, so exactly.
Birds of a feather, no?
The the unfortunate thing in this country, Mr. Pitafi, is that the doctrine of law says innocent until proven guilty, but whenever it comes to people here, it's the opposite. It's guilty until proven innocent. So till somebody is not cleared by the
was
court,
just using
you
one
guys
example to
meet your trial, and
qualify
that
the other.
person, or whoever it is actually thought to be a wrongdoer. But then later on,
No, hang on. You just said that Jahangir Tareen will have to actually qualify his priors and will have to qualify his innocence. And then, of course, the party might think of bringing him in. And then I reminded you, so does your party leadership.
No, but we don't have any cases when anybody has been indicted or verdict. There are cases going on, but there's nothing been proven in there about any of our party leadership. I do understand that there are cases pending. There are many cases which they've been cleared from, and there are many more. And inshallah, times to come, you'll see even those cases will be closed.
Okay, right. Let me come back to the studio, Ibrahim Khan Sahab. Two things. One, a claim was made in this program that Jahangir Tareen is not only the only one part of the corruption bracket in sugar mafia. The other one is Khusro Bakhtiar, and your party is actually not focusing on him at all. And this point not only was made by Dr. Saab, it was actually made by many of the JKT group as well, members as well. If you can respond to that. Sure. Secondly, the DPO Lodhra, his posting, did it have anything to do with the kind of compromises that are going on, the so-called simple magic wand?
Okay. Number one, your question was regarding
Sugar mafia.
Sugar mafia, right? Let's say we have intentionally overlooked that aspect with regards to Khusro Bakhtiar.
Okay.
All those people who are bringing up all these allegations.
You're talking to them?
No, I'm not talking to them. I am suggesting...
Your party is talking to
Yes, no. I am saying that they have every right to go to the court. The courts are open, the courts are independent. Okay. If they find anyone in the government, at any position, is doing something wrong, they have every right to go and approach the courts and get their grievance or their allegation reconfirmed or get it rejected one way or the other.
Okay.
That is one thing. Mm-hmm. Now, just putting allegations on anyone is like of no use. If they have any moral authority or moral grounds and some facts in the hand,
with due respect,
they should have
the action against. Hang on, Jahangir Tareen Sahab was based on a report, right? And there was an investigative report. In that report, these gentlemen, especially Khusro Bakhtiar's younger brother, is mentioned.
I'm saying that anyone who has not been taken to or not noticed or has not been in a way action has not been taken against him, okay, then there are courts there.
Okay.
Let's say we are playing one-sided kind of a role. Let's just assume that. If we are, then all these people who are concerned about the supremacy of law and justice, they can always go and knock at the door of the courts and get it settled. One. Okay. And but that's not what it is.
Okay.
I think Jahangir Tareen owns about 20% of the total ratio-wise. Production-wise.
Okay. Sugar market.
20%.
20%.
Okay.
And how much does your leadership actually?
I think they have about like maybe 1 or 2%.
1 or 2?
Yes.
Is that true?
Because
for now,
sugar mill is no longer
Active,
operational.
okay.
what they did was actually, he's right. Actually, initially what they did was wherever their sugar mills were, they were shifted to another place where they were not legally allowed to do so.
Okay.
So Jahangir III went against that and got orders from the court to get those mills shut down.
Right.
But on the other hand, People's Party have, the Omni Group has about 15, 16 sugar mills in Sindh.
Okay.
And but anyway,
Khusro Bakhtiar Sahab has got about 15%. Ahmad Mahmood Sahab has again another 10%. So between the three of them, they can control the whole sugar more than 50%.
Ahmad Mahmood again is more tilt towards the. I mean, he's a member of PPP.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's not the issue. I mean, how much, who owns, or whatever. If there is somebody has violated the law, or
hang on.
Sure.
Nobody is talking about anybody going to the court. Of course, they can. But we were talking about the possibility of a double standard. Is there one, or there is none? There is the question.
All I can say is that just recently I saw a person was granted bail while he was guarantor of another person who was absconding, and at the same time he was granted a bail. So double standards or single standards or triple standards, it's
I'm
really
not
confusing.
talking about courts, I'm talking about your investigation. But let
Let me finish on that also.
You know about
We are also human
we
beings.
cannot go there.
We are also human beings, okay? And if there is something, some loopholes or some overlook,
You're conceding
they
that.
can, no, they should go and, knock at the door of the court.
I agree.
Dr. Ibrahim Hansab is actually actively encouraging you to go and challenge that matter.
I agree with him that there are loopholes in the system.
Okay.
And one of that loophole was that not only an absconder left the country, an absconder became the prime minister of the country.
Okay.
That again is Imran Khan Sahab has remained absconder from the court on the
but,
PTV case.
No, but
many
he was
times.
cleared, no?
No, he went back.
Regarding
then-
absconder leaving the country, he was not absconder when he left.
He was an
He was a convict when he left, which is unprecedented in the history of the country. He goes abroad and then becomes absconder despite a lot of assurance.
An absconder is an absconder. You can change it right, left, or center. He was an absconder for a very long time, and because we do not believe in political victimization, we never used it against him. We could have easily put him inside jail. We could have stopped him from going abroad, but we never did that. And it is unfortunate that these tactics are being used by PTI against their political opposition, because this is something that was
a tactic of letting a convict who is serving his sentence go abroad on health matters, regarding health.
So Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sahab became a convict in a case in which Judge Arshad Malik came out and said that he was pressurized.
That is for the court to decide.
No, but you have to
I'm talking about someone who was in
you have
jail.
to look. No, one second. You have to look at the case when a judge himself says that I was being pressurized to give this verdict. That case no longer stands. You can call him whatever you like. But this is the reality of the situation.
Allow me to just counter argue here, because it is about courts. That video that came out was in his private setting. One has to actually ask how the privacy was breached. But secondly, we don't know the context, how he was making that statement. Then it was not proven in a court of law. And fourth thing, because you're talking about all these matters, whatever it is, it doesn't actually impact the fact that the person was, former Prime Minister, was sentenced and was behind the bars and was the first example.
No, he was not the first example.
Who else was?
Pervez Musharraf was another example.
No, he was never convicted.
He was convicted from Lahore High Court. He was convicted in a case of treachery, and nobody actually took any action against
treason, you mean, right?
Treason, yeah.
But he was never convicted. He was actually indicted.
he was. I mean, you can.
Indicting is one thing.
He was. The court decided that against him. The special court. I mean, Justice Seth decided against him, and there is a whole judgment that explains.
But you're talking about a minority statement.
It doesn't matter really. You know,
And it was not
I am saying that on one side there is a civilian prime minister who was convicted wrongfully. The judge says that he was wrongfully convicted. I was pressurized. On the other side, there is a code of law that says that this guy has committed treason.
Okay,
and we let him go.
Hang on. Let us deconstruct the argument, right? If I, God forbid, end up behind the bars, and you find out that I'm suffering from some disease which doesn't have cure in Pakistan, and you are in power, will you let me go out of the prison and country?
I mean, it depends on the situation. If
You
first
have
thing
been-
is if the court of
this
law
country for
of the
past
court
5 years.
if the court decides that the case is genuine, which was the case in Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sharif Saab's case, all the hospitals in Lahore, the government hospitals said that Shaukat Khanum said that he is very ill,
And
then not only
that
him,
he cannot walk, that his life is in danger.
That only not
And
only.
then
Pitafi sahab, let me complete my argument.
Then
If the court, if all the hospitals and all the doctors were wrong, if Shaukat Khanum was wrong, then why the CEO of Shaukat Khanum or the head of Shaukat Khanum was made the health minister? Why was first Yasmin Rashid should resign? Faisal Sultan should resign, because these were the people who were saying that he was very ill. Now they are saying that you cannot
Nobody
change
is
the argument.
questioning that.
He
Nobody
was
is-
actually very ill.
Nobody is arguing against this. All I'm saying is one country, two systems. Do you see the point?
So another one is Imran Khan got away with his Banigala residence. Everybody else got their houses demolished. Same country, two systems.
You cannot compare the unprecedented with the precedented.
Imran Khan Saab family has got one system.
We haven't begun talking about model town, right? But let me go to Karachi. Ali Rashid Saab, you are listening to all this discussion. Your party has always maintained that PMLN usually gets more concessions. But the bigger question is that your leadership and Afan Saab's party leadership, all of them, whenever they are ill, they have to leave the country for treatment. Usually it is said that they have to go abroad. Of late, as Zardari Saab has stopped going abroad, but still there was a time when this used to happen. The question is, why is it that our leaders who have been in power for so long haven't built the infrastructure to take care of this problem? When this happens, people of Pakistan say that they are less of a priority. Is it not true?
Well, I disagree here. I mean, I do understand that doctors abroad especially have a lot more opportunities, and unfortunately so that they do. And even if you look at a lot of Pakistani doctors, they prefer to work in the US or the UK. So, goes without saying that the health system abroad is much better than Pakistan, which I'm not justifying, and I'm not disputing the fact that that we need to do more when it comes to the infrastructure and health in Pakistan. But we are a third world country, and we are obviously, I think things are much better, especially if you come to Karachi and you see the hospitals here, and especially NICVD. People from all over Pakistan are coming and getting treated here, and even a lot of people from our who are part of ministers, ex-ministers, and MNAs actually now choose to get treated there as opposed to going abroad. So things are getting better. Slow and steady, but they're still making progress.
Okay, but is this a concern that there might not be critical infrastructure that might be needed? I'm saying this because a country like India, that also seems to have been exposed recently that they don't have the infrastructure. Is there a need for all parties to work on improving the quality of governance, including yours?
Yeah, I totally agree that we do, and I'll speak about Karachi here. You see, especially I'll be very Karachi, especially talk about a place like Karachi. We have a lot of people don't understand when you talk about the infrastructure and the policies. When it comes to Karachi, we are governed by 13 different bodies, and technically speaking, and this is very important to note. Technically speaking, the Karachi or the local government or the Sindh government is only owns or runs 30% of Karachi. The remaining 50% are cantonments and or owned by KPC or Port Qasim or the railway authorities, which is 70%, which by the way is under the federal government. So sometimes, a lot of people get into this debate and they blame, rightfully so at times. I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying there's no room for progress, but only 30% of Karachi is actually Karachi and Sindh government. 70% is federal government. And a big eye opener for a lot of people was when there was there were rain and storms here, and defense, the most posh locality, not just of Karachi, of Pakistan actually, the most expensive property. The most posh locality, it was flooded, and people started blaming the mayor and the Sindh government. But then they came to an awareness that, it does not even come under that. But yet the People's Party chief minister was gracious enough to go to defense and extend a helping hand with his machinery and pumped all the water out and helped out. But yeah, we do need to have a system where all the bodies which are responsible can be on the same page, so we can work, to make things the best.
Yeah.
And people should also be a bit aware of.
No, I get that, and this is a big argument, sir. You can continue to make it, but with due respect, given that we have shown you examples, Jangir Tareen Saab, then of course Mia Nawaz Sharif, his departure, then your party's issues as well. And all these parties keep on telling us that democracy is meant to deliver. Is this not a big issue here, that politicians first take care of themselves rather than the people whom they are supposed to serve?
Well, I wouldn't put it that way, but yeah, democracy also needs to evolve. Democracy also needs to be flourish.
Yeah, that's a good argument. When I was a kid, I was told that democracy is evolving, and I'm a aging man now, and democracy still needs time to evolve. That becomes a problem here as well. But let me come back to Ibrahim Khan Saab. Sir, hang on, sir. Let me come back to Ibrahim Khan Saab. Ibrahim Khan Saab, your party, and the question that I asked you earlier, because you come from that region, Lodhra's DPO was changed. Was it on demand of Jangir Tareen Group? And if that was so, in what capacity was that request made?
Tell you the truth, I don't have any first-hand information that I can sit here and make a statement, this was the reason and that was the reason. DPOs or CPOs or whoever, if they're changed, those are the prerogatives of the provincial government, and they can change or not change or whatever. I mean, it's their administrative decision.
Yeah, but that has to be one, based on a merit system. Second, not a lawmaker. A lawmaker doesn't decide. It cannot be a kind of concession.
I said it is the administrative decision. So
yeah, but the news is that it was done on one of the dissenting lawmakers'
demand. The most unfortunate part in our country is that we more believe in rumors than the reality.
So it is a paper report published in the papers.
Published in the papers?
Yeah.
What kind of verifications do we have?
They have go into the mentioning them.
Sir, mentioning something in the newspaper does not mean it is anywhere close to the reality. Or, I mean, this question can be asked from the Chief Minister of Punjab. Why did that? That could be, I mean, he'll be the relevant person to respond to this.
Right. We are not still clear whether DPO was changed for this reason or
For a
something.
political reason, I mean, this is where you're coming from. It's like maybe it was some political, consideration.
Yeah, it was reported that way.
I don't foresee that. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, but again, the competent authority is the responsible person, I think, who can give a clear response to your question.
But I hope you understand the difference between an officer who is failing to deliver on ground, and there is a common grievance coming from the people, and an MPA or MNA complaining to the Chief Minister or Prime Minister that DPO is not listening to my requests. That becomes something else, right? Democracy stands on its head then.
No. You see, there is never, in 99% of the cases, whenever a legislator makes an official complaint to the Chief Minister, who's head of the executive of the province, that is always supported by the complaints by different class of people.
Okay.
That justice is not being done, or you see, unfortunately, bribe is one factor which is
right.
Sure.
And speaking of bribe, and not speaking of bribe actually, let me ask you about one curious case.
Sure.
Remember when Ishaq Dar Saab, it was pointed out that Ishaq Dar Saab's seat lies vacant because he hasn't taken oath of office. Chaudhry Nisar also has not taken oath of office for 2.5 years. How is it that the system is allowing him to sit outside and come to claim that seat whenever he pleases?
I think, again, as you mentioned and you pointed out, there are clear difference, a law for the poor and law for the dynasties. Okay? And we all need to admit it and find a resolution and a remedy that law of the land should prevail, and it should be applied equally applicable. It should be applicable for everyone.
But you have an explanation for that? How did this happen? Is there no law to unseat a person who doesn't take oath of office?
I think there is a certain period of time that within that time period, if he does not, 3 months, right?
Yeah.
If he does not, then he can be deseated.
Yeah.
But I don't have any reason why the Punjab Assembly did not, or the Speaker of the Assembly did not deseat him.
Yeah.
And again today he went to take the oath, and
and Speaker of your Punjab Assembly is your ally, is he not?
So it's not the question of anybody is your ally or not your ally. The question
but you
is
can
of
ask
law.
them. No, but you can always ask them.
Sure.
Upon Khan Sahab, let me ask you about this as well. Chaudhry Nisar Sahab, right now, his status, is he your party's member? Is he an ally of your party? Because the word has it that since Shahbaz Sharif Sahab came out of prison and he seems to be taking lead in your party, the counter solution for Punjab is Chaudhry Nisar Sahab.
So the first question that you asked, he is not part of PMLN.
Okay.
The second question that you asked, that whether anything can happen in the future, maybe there is some sort of an arrangement. As I said before, politics is the art of possibilities. So I cannot say that there can never be Chaudhry Sahab can never return to PMLN. But as of today, he is not part of PMLN. He is not an ally. He is not part.
Politics might be the art of the possible, but it is not the art of the weird, right? There is something very strange happening here. One party leadership refused to give him ticket. And then, of course, he sits outside the system, blocking a seat of Punjab Assembly, and now he's going to take oath. I
think as per the law, I'm not an expert in the law, but as far as my understanding of the law is concerned, I believe that if you do not take oath, then there is somewhere in the law, we need to basically fix this problem. If someone doesn't take an oath for a long period of time, we can then basically take some action against him. But this is something that the ECP will do.
Right.
Because the ECP notifies an MPA or a senator to the Senate or the provincial assembly, and then the speaker is waiting for that particular person to come in and take oath. So if he doesn't take oath, then there's, you know, the law doesn't say. And as far as my understanding is concerned, the law is not very definitive on it. That's why they want to bring the ordinance.
Ishaq Dar Sahab, your party believes in principles.
We do believe in principles. The reason why Dar Sahab has not taken oath is because of his political persecution against him, and because of that political persecution, he has to leave the country. And I believe that whenever the situation in Pakistan improves, he will come back and he will take oath.
And it is worth it that you vacate a seat and you keep it empty and symbolic, because it is your party which is losing a vote, right?
Yeah, we are losing a vote, but you're right in that way. Our struggle for vote ko izzat do, or the sanctity of the vote.
Yeah, that we saw in the Senate election at the center. Islamabad, vote ko izzat do. And the way you supported Gilani Sahab. But I'm told, sir, that we have to conclude the program here. Dr. Afnanullah Khan, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Mohammad Ibrahim Khan Sahab, always a great pleasure having you on the show. Same goes for you, Ali Asher Sahab. Thank you very much for your precious time as well. We are not left with too much time for me to actually give a very conclusive conclusion. But here's the thing. Everybody keeps on talking about democracy, and why is it important? Because in the colonial times, when this country was being ruled by foreigners, the country had two systems, not one. One for the rulers, one for the ruled. And then we saw that in Pakistan, we had this mix, sometimes a military takeover, sometimes civilian governments. And at that time, all the civilian politicians used to tell us that a democracy has to be there, because that is going to promise equal rights to all and equal opportunities to all. And if today, after 73, 74 years of creation of Pakistan, we are still debating it, and there is democracy in the country and has been for 10 years, then one has to actually ask what has gone wrong. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.